One of the other things that we tend to have a lot of discussion around with livestock research is this idea of experimental study design versus observational studies, um, particularly when we start thinking about animal mortality and having to have large numbers to really feel like we have a fair assessment of what's happening in our studies. And so a lot of people want to do the observational side of that because they can get the replication quickly without maybe having as stricter controls as we would set in an experimental study. So what do you feel are the pros and cons to doing either more of the controlled experiment versus the more observational type of study?
Good. That's a great question, Laura. If we're going to look at designed experiments as opposed to observational study, it's important to understand what's at the core of the difference between these two very different types of studies. And what's at the core of this difference is the process of randomization, which is a formal mechanism of chance. It's not haphazard. It's not whatever. It's not whatever comes out. It's actually a formal process of chance that has to do with balancing out any systematic effects that might be lurking in pieces of the data that we may or may not be aware of. And this is particularly for effects that we are not aware of, right? Subsets of animals that might end up in one treatment, but it may be that what they have in common is not just that treatment, but something else lurking below the surface. By doing a formal process of randomization, we can actually balance out on average and kind of have a greater chance of spreading that lurking whatever might be that's affecting our outcome across multiple treatments. The idea being that we avoid confounding effects. We avoid making a conclusion on a treatment when really what's driving whatever difference we're seeing is not the treatment itself, but something else that was common to the animals to start with. A process of randomization gets us out of that confounding, at least on average. So all of this works in a probabilistic framework. So on any particular realization, you're not guaranteed for that to happen. But certainly on average, in the long range, that is what you're shooting for, averaging out any systematic effects, so that you can then conclude on an effect of treatment in a designed experiment. This is in contrast, of course, with observational studies, which where we don't have a chance to randomize, or we cannot randomize either for ethical reasons, for operational reasons.